material. I mean, I am amazed at the ability of these men to take any topic and turn it into a springboard for more lesbian material. One guy complains that the gays have taken over and ruined his neighborhood of Park Slope, Brooklyn, which is hilarious, in case you haven't noticed. Everyone's cracking up. I'm waiting for the punchline until I realize I am the punchline. You know, in the movie version of this, I'm able to like say something really funny and smart. I'm able to turn the whole thing around, and I get my own TV talk show. But in the actual version that I live, I just kind of sit there. I just feel the blood drain from my body, along with any witty remark I might ever make. I'm completely silent the entire night. There's no such thing as bad publicity. I stop making performance. Being part of the NEA4 becomes a full-time job. I do a lot of work for free. It often unfolds like this. But there are people who make money on the NEA4, the Concerned Women for America. I think they're very concerned that there are women in America. There was an old feminist theater group that kind of did a Stephen Colbert take on these sort of neoconservative women. They were called Ladies Against Women. But they were an actual, real group. And they sent out hundreds of thousands of flyers asking people to send them money so they could protect America from an onslaught of gay art, a virtual tidal wave of gay art. Because, as was suggested at the United States Supreme Court when we finally get there, that the only thing standing between a worse onslaught, which is taxpayer-funded Nazi art, is defunding Karen Kinley and the three homosexuals. So in this direct mail campaign, they said, you know, don't just stop there. Don't just hand us your money, and you can maybe sign up to like have an automatic deduction from your checking account monthly. Maybe you want to give these artists a piece of your mind, and here is their address. So we got hate mail, and I have to say most of it was really badly spelled. I get one of my favorites was, you know, a Bible, you know, some sort of, we used to always look at these as tips at the Red Lobster. These are terrible tips. Better not to leave a tip than leave like some little Jesus loves you track, which these people would send, and then they would sometimes personalize them with nice little messages in magic marker like, hey, cunt. But it was spelled Haykunt, making me think it's maybe sort of like country western and German at the same time. Hey, cunt. Here's my favorite. I have a gun. I know where you live. I'm coming to New York this summer. Yes, Jesus loves you. But most remarkably, we were signed with a return address. Oh, yeah. I bet you don't have Ethiopian restaurants in Brimdale, Florida. Perhaps we could meet there so you could shoot me there. Okay, so our case of the NEA4 is wending its way through the courts, and it's about the grants we lost, but mostly I think it's about whether the principle of free speech of the First Amendment applies to government funding, and it goes back and forth over a decade until it lands at the Supreme Court. And weeks before the hearing, my lawyer calls to ask if I want to go to the hearing, and I have to let him know right away because tickets are going fast. Did you realize you have to get tickets to go to the Supreme Court. I mean, it's not easy. It's a long-running hit. Okay? And friends start calling me. It's my most popular show. They're like, it's sold out. Can you get me in? And you get escorted to your seats by members of the Secret Service, and they seat you in pews. Now, I'm not talking about seats that kind of recall, resemble, reference a pew. I'm talking about onward Christian soldiers, faith of our fathers, pews. And they're oversized. They're stolen from the abandoned set of Pee-wee's Playhouse. I mean, everybody's feet just kind of dangle. And a few months later, the court rules, we get the grants, but the restrictions on funding stand. And by this time, the Congress has decided, no, this is a lot of hassle to go through. So we can just do this in a simpler way. We can just eliminate all funding for living artists, except those who write fiction. What did the fiction writers do? The rest of us couldn't figure out what was it that they did. And they cut all of the entire NEA money by more than half. Of course, this is part of a much, again, gesturing to a larger political landscape, a larger attack on public funding of all sorts. So, you know, the life of an artist is really made up of a series of no's. You don't get the money, you get a bad review, and sometimes you can't turn the page, sometimes you just like, you work and work on something and it still doesn't work, right? And that's kind of what happens to you, even if you're a very successful artist. And sometimes the no's are harder than others. Sometimes they land in a way that takes your breath away, and you have to ask yourself, what is it you were trying to do? Do you still want to do this? And I remember the first artist I knew, the first person I really knew who was an artist. It was my college drawing teacher, and we'd be sketching. I mean, I started becoming an art major because it was a chance to look at naked bodies for college credit and size everything up there, literally. And as we'd be doing that, he'd be talking about the long hours he spent in his garage that he converted into a studio, and he had his cigarette and some whiskey and jazz that was spilling out into the Michigan night, and he talked about the sculpture that he was working on. And he'd spent months trying to finish the sculpture. It was abstract, so it's hard to know really when it's finished. And he loves the piece, it's beautiful. And then he realizes that is the problem. It's just beautiful. That's all it is. So, one night, he takes his car and he drives it into the sculpture and he smashes it. And he decides, it's finished. It's done. It's no longer beautiful, but it's art. And I thought, that's it. That's it for me. That's what I want to do. I want to do all of that. I don't want to just be the artist. I want to be everything in the story. I want to be the whiskey. I want to be the music. I want to be the cigarette. I want to be the nut. And I knew that meant that I may have to be the sculpture that needed to be broken before it could shine